Ah, yes, Alan Hood. His accident was quite serious. In January 2022, while walking to teach at the University of Denver, he slipped on ice, fell backward, and suffered catastrophic spinal injuries. He was initially paralyzed from the neck down and underwent multiple spinal surgeries. The injury damaged both his cervical and thoracic spine, leading to a long rehabilitation process. What makes the story especially heartbreaking for trumpet players is that Alan was not only a highly respected jazz and classical trumpeter, but also one of the country's major trumpet educators. He hosted the 2004 International Trumpet Guild Conference, taught at the Lamont School of Music for decades, performed with the Phil Collins Big Band, Denver Brass, the H2 Big Band, and many other ensembles. The trumpet community rallied around him. Denver Brass organized a benefit concert featuring players such as John Faddis, Greg Gisbert, and Brad Good to help with his recovery and medical expenses. The last substantial public updates I found indicate that he remained paralyzed from the shoulders down, though he had regained some limited movement in fingers and toes during rehabilitation.
Right now I'm playing Alan Hood's music through a based radio station. And I'm going to talk about that radio station now. But if you wanted to listen along to that radio station, independent of this stream, you could get it at radio.jazz.com/rocketfm. Well, there you have it. That's my radio station, and my name's Glenn Gross, and I'm hoping to talk about some useful things during this broadcast. One of the things I want to talk about is, in the context of AI, how do we deal with the fact that the government can just write a letter and shut down a product that a Fortune 500 company that's worth almost $1 trillion has released to the world? And then they can do it in such a way that they say that that company can't even use the foreign nationals that are already employed by that company. Frankly, no one's going to go for that. And what it's going to end up doing is driving business away from the United States. And if we maintain this policy of trying to lock down these models that are, sort of viewed as collective property of the whole world, then we're going to find ourselves very much isolated, in my opinion. We're going to be like a pariah nationally, internationally. People say, "Oh, remember how the United States used to be really good at AI, and now look." That would be a draconian situation, but I think it's really possible for us to go there. But what I want to do now is talk to you a little bit about some of the work I've been doing with AI, and I wanted to have a more elaborate demonstration going, but I think I'm going to keep it very basic this time. And so I wanted to show you, I've been having this chat in process of setting up this broadcast setup I'm using right now. I actually had a long conversation with ChatGPT, and you can see it on the screen right now. I wonder if I can make the letters bigger to make everyone see what they look like. I'm going to try this right now. If I do this, let's see if this works. Yeah, look at this. I make the fonts much bigger this way. Maybe you'll be able to see what's going on. And so this is what ChatGPT is telling me about a plan that I had to auto-generate graphics to go with the audio that's coming on my radio station. I want to have a visualizer, and it'll be like the equivalent of the TV station's network feed. And then when I want to appear on camera, then I'll do like I'm doing now. But to show you what I'm talking about here, this is, right here is the discussion I had with ChatGPT, and it's telling me various options that I have where I could show off my own software. And I've never really been set up like this before, so I'm going to give ChatGPT a thumbs up there. I liked its response. And when you give it a thumbs up, what it'll often do is it'll say thank you. We'll see if we see anything like that pop up, but maybe not in this case. So really, this has been a long process for me to get this set up. I'm using this thing here, which is an Amalink output from a Mac Mini, and notice that it takes a USB-C connection and splits it into HD, 4K, HDMI output, as well as USB-A and a USB-C. And so right now I have more than that plugged in. I have all of these populated, but this was my trick to get a separate monitor set up. Right now you're looking at basically it's a Sony TV set, and it's functioning as an extended desktop for the iMac. So this shows you how the iMac can be a powerful tool for broadcasting. And so this is a little bit of a recursive discussion, but I just want to scroll up a bit, show you some of the things that were done. Here you can see the TV in the background, and this is the regular display for my iMac, which is a Samsung display, high resolution display. And so this actually is running the latest Tahoe, and the iMac itself, which you can't really see in this picture, is got 16 gig of unified RAM and an M2 processor. And some people might wonder, what the heck is an M2 processor? Well, for those of you who know, just bear with me. M2 is the second chip in Apple Silicon's release. When Apple decided they're done with Intel, they're just going to make their own chips. M1 was the first, and it got really good reviews, and then came the M2, then the M3, and I think they're up to the M5 now. But it's amazing how fast this thing is, and I bought it at a pawn shop for about $300, which I thought was a really good deal. It's got 16 gig of RAM, but the thing about 16 gig that makes it special in the M2 is that it's called unified RAM, which means it is similar to graphics RAM. They put it all onto a chip. So right here, if you look at me, I'm describing how. In fact, let me use one of these guys as a prop. I think I've got another one sitting around. Yeah, here I do. This was another pawn shop acquisition, and this guy has the M1 processor. So and it's only got 8 gigs of RAM. It still is a beast of a machine. It's really fast, and you would never know it from looking at it. This was the first Apple Silicon system that I got. But then when I found out how good it was, how quiet it runs, how soft, and how fast compared to Intel, I started trolling the pawn shops, and I managed to get some other scores. And the one that's running this broadcast right now is an M2 with 16 gig, which isn't huge, but it's kind of like having a graphics card with 16 gig of graphics RAM in it. in terms of what you can do. So I'm going to show you some cool stuff here. In fact, it occurs to me right now. Let me show you a cool feature. Let me show you a cool feature that has to do with what you can do with a local, I want to call it local inference, because when you think about it, if the government can shut down a company as big as Anthropic, their flagship model, which was I think only out for 3 days before it was shut down, it was called Fable. And I didn't get to try it myself because I'm not a paid Anthropic subscriber. I'm a ChatGPT Plus subscriber, so I use OpenAI for my primary inference. You can kind of get the idea because I'm always chatting with OpenAI here. But let's just take a look at something here. You might like this. I'm going to go to a URL on my own machine, and it is http://localhost 8080. And that is just a local port. I think maybe I got 1 slash in there and I need 2. Let's put another slash in there and make sure this is right. That looks pretty good. Let's see if it works. Okay, there it is. So what you see in front of me right now, this is called llama.cpp, and sure enough, this was, from Zuckerberg's company. It's basically, I guess you could call it a harness that runs a local model. But the model I'm running is written down here. It's Mistral 7B Instruct version 0.2.q4_k_m.gguf. That's a lot of alphabet soup, but basically what this means is I've got a local model, a local artificial intelligence running on this machine right here, and this machine does not need to be hooked up to the internet to make this work. Of course, I'm hooked up to the internet because the same machine running this model is also handling this live broadcast. So it's really kind of a trip to be doing all these things. But anyway, let me just show you how I can do something really cool here. I can say to this model, how does it feel to be a local large language model? Question mark. Now, the answer that I'm going to get is going to be interesting. It's going to be funny. But what I want you to notice is how fast the answer appears, because it's a test of the hardware that we're running on. So watch this closely. It says processing 100%. And there it's typing. I don't have feelings, as I'm just a text-based artificial intelligence model. However, I can provide an answer based on the context you've given. Being a local language model means I'm specifically designed to serve a particular geographic area or community. This approach can offer advantages such as a better understanding of local dialects, cultural references, and regional nuances. However, it may limit my ability to provide answers on topics outside the scope of my intended focus. In comparison to a more generic large language model, being local allows for a more tailored and accurate response to queries. For instance, a local large language model for a specific region might be more adept at answering questions about the local festivals, traditions, or historical sites. However, it's important to note that being local doesn't mean being limited. With continuous learning and updating, a local large language model can evolve and expand its knowledge base beyond its initial focus. It can still provide answers on a wide range of topics, making it a versatile tool for users within its intended community. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't think it misspelled any words. I don't think it made any grammatical errors. But this is a model that will literally fit on a DVD. It's only about 4 gigs in size, and it's running on a Mac Mini with 16 gig of unified RAM. Now, what I thought was fascinating was how fast it typed. Let me tell you, when I took typing in the 1980s, actually it was earlier than that because I took it in middle school, I didn't type very fast. I remember the teacher used to have us listen to disco music, so it must have been during the disco era, and we had to type right along with the disco beat, and that's how we kind of developed the hands so that we could learn how to touch type. And I think that's amusing to think back on it because that's like 50 years ago now, or 40 years at least, which is a trip. But anyway, if I had typed as fast as that model types, I would have gotten an A in the course. I would have probably freaked the instructor out. But now I want to show you something else cool that a lot of people don't realize. You hear a lot of people say, oh, you got to have ChatGPT, you got to have Claude, you got to have Grok, you got to have Alexa Plus, whatever, to do these things. But they don't know that you can run this on your local computer if you get the right type of computer. So watch this. Please translate your last reply into French. Okay? Please translate your last reply into French. Watch it do the work. There it comes. It's typing in French. It says, Je ne sais rien comme étant une grande IA linguistique locale car je ne suis qu'un modèle texte-basé. Cependant, je peux donner une réponse en fonction de content, etc. So here it is in French, and it's know how fast that types. It's doing all that just with the local processor. It's not relying on big data centers. Okay, it's not relying on OpenAI. It's not relying on Anthropic. It's not relying on Elon Musk or on Grok. Okay, this is really kind of interesting to me that you can get that kind of power out of just a local model. And people say, oh, it's terrible because, you know, it's not as powerful as ChatGPT. Agreed, it's not as powerful, but it's not terrible. It's kind of like get the right tool for the job, you know. If I want to have say a hammer that I'm going to use to build a house, I'm not going to try to hit standard carpentry nails with a sledgehammer because it's going to do damage to the drywall or whatever I'm trying to deal with. Similarly, why would I want to spend money for a premier model, like a genius level model, when I can get this local model to help? Now this is the punchline here, okay? This text that you see right here, that you saw generated here, I'm going to make it larger so it's easier to see. Let's see, I first have to highlight that window. Okay, now I can make it larger. Let's make this big enough that you can read it, okay? So this French text that you see right here, this was all generated locally from the model, and it was not generated from the internet. Okay, that's what people have trouble wrapping their minds around. They think they need the internet to do this. They don't. Now here's a cool thing. Please rewrite your last prompt in the style of a poem in English by Robert Frost. I happen to be a fan of Robert Frost, so I like using these kind of prompts. And I'm not trying to plagiarize. By the way, this is not plagiarism. It's that this particular intelligence was trained on Robert Frost's books. So it's kind of like, okay, if you took a student and you trained him on all Robert Frost's books and then you told him, go ahead, pretend you're Frost and write something. That's kind of what we're doing here. So let's see how well this local model, Mistral, again, it's called Mistral 7B Instruct, okay? And it came out, I think, 2021 or something. So we're not talking about the latest thing here, okay? Let's see how it does trying to write a poem like Frost. In the quiet hush of local lands, where dialects dance and sing, a language model's heart, a text-based mind takes tender wing. Born from the earth, in a community's embrace, shedding light on its own in the local sacred space, through cultural nuances, dialects intertwined, the local model learns in the heritage of its kind, limited it seems by geography's vast expanse, yet in its focused heart, a world's knowledge to enchain. In the local's quiet corner, the model grows, a tale of words and wisdom, in the company's embrace it shows. Continuous learning, a lifelong quest. With every update, it adds to its vast, unquenchable feast. So let us toast to the local in all its simple grace, a beacon of knowledge in the community's quiet, peaceful space. Well, there you have it. I thought that was pretty good, and it tells me that it used 225 tokens, or when it generated. It took 16 seconds to generate. It was 13.42 tokens per second. So that was that typing speed that you saw, okay? But this was not conferring with someone else. This is running a software that good old Mark Zuckerberg helped fund, called llama.cpp. And it's basically CPP is C++. It's the language that this particular harness is written in. And we've used up so far a significant amount of context. See if it tells us. I can't see it yet. Maybe if I move the whole browser, we can see. Okay, I think it's not telling me exactly how much context we've used up yet. But anyway, we'll run out of context a lot quicker on this than we would if we were using ChatGPT. But I don't want to make this first video very long because I want to make sure you guys can really hear me. Also, I seem to have 0 viewers, so no one's watching it live, and that's okay. But if I get a good video that persists, I'll know at least that my setup is good. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now. And I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. And according to my readout, I have I've only used 24 minutes of recording time. I think less streaming time than that. And so anyway, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. And please watch this for more AI related news. And I'm going to play some music too. And hopefully we're going to have some fun. But before I sign off, let's ask the model something interesting. Let me give it a tough question, see how it answers. I'm going to say this: if the U.S. government shut down a premier large language model by a major inference provider, does that mean that local models may have an advantage? If so, please explain that advantage. Okay, let's see what it says to find out if it can reason, because this is a little more complicated than what I asked it earlier. Here we go. If a major inference provider's premier large language model is shut down by the U.S. government, it could create an opportunity for other models, it says, including local models, to shine. The reason is that the shutdown might leave a void in the market for large-scale language processing capabilities. Local models, due to their focus on specific communities or regions, could potentially fill this gap by offering accurate and tailored responses to queries related to their areas of expertise. Moreover, local models have the advantage of being more contextually aware due to their specialized focus. They can offer a better understanding of local dialects, cultural references, and regional nuances, making them valuable assets for users within their intended communities. This could lead to increased usage and demand for local models, as they might be perceived as more reliable and effective alternatives to the shuttered large model. In this case, I'm saying that the shuttered large model is Fable, which the company Anthropic worked hard, released, and then had to shut down because of government interference. After the same government said that they wanted a law preventing this kind of regulation against AI. Okay, I won't belabor the point, but you get the idea. It's very paradoxical and I think hypocritical for them to do this to a private enterprise, regardless of whether it's a big company or a small company. But listen what Mistral says. It says, additionally, the shutdown of a major inference provider's large model might also spur innovation and competition in the market as other companies and researchers look to develop more advanced and capable local models to meet the demand. This could lead to improvements in local model technology, making them even more competitive and valuable in the long run. There you have it. So my thought there is we are really in a situation where guys like me who are, experimentalists might have more of an opportunity to get into the business than I would have otherwise, because if Anthropic's Claude is always available and always out front, and specifically, let's talk specifically about Fable, which was their model that was only out for 3 days before the government decided this model's too powerful, we have to shut it down, okay? if they shut down models like that, it's going to be people like me that know how to provide people with alternatives if they want to still use AI. Now, despite all the demonization of AI, I want to say this: local models don't require data centers, unless you want to call my Mac Mini a data center. And I do have a number of computers here, but they do not constitute a data center in the same sense as the data centers that are controversial right now. In fact, this computer probably uses about as much energy as a 200-watt light bulb. So I don't really think that's going to destroy the environment too fast. In fact, moving to local models could be the thing that we want in order to facilitate an ecological, climate-friendly approach to artificial intelligence. Well, that's as far as I'm going to go in this first video on the subject, but thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please comment under this video, or you can send me an email. My email is glendon144@gmail.com. And since I usually play trumpet, I'll play a little trumpet piece for you to wrap up this video. All right, with that, that's Glenn Gross. I'm Glenn Gross. I'm going to be signing off for now, and thanks again for watching, and hope you have a wonderful day, and peace.